thank everybody for taking the time to be here on this call today. And let me, in particular, we'll have the chance to introduce Robbie and Linda here in a moment, but I just want to express my deep appreciation to the 4 elected officials that are assembled here, focusing on some of the efforts that they have advanced in Southern California on the issue of homelessness. I think all of us will acknowledge before we came in to this pandemic, dealing with the challenges, not only of COVID, now a COVID-induced recession in the state of California. We had a crisis that we were navigating on the issue of homelessness. That crisis has not gone away. Our resolve, our commitment, our faith and devotion to the cause of getting people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, 100,000+ people off the street remains. What we are doing differently, though, and fundamentally so, is we're moving now with a sense of real urgency and at deliberative speeds that we have not processed in the past. And what we are announcing today is an update on one of those initiatives, Project Homekey, that was approved and supported by the California legislature just a few months ago in our July budget, where we identified $600 million of federal support where we could provide for permanent relief, not just temporary relief, to address the needs of housing for homeless individuals up and down the state. Built off a program called Project Homekey that started just 6 months ago, remarkably, just 6 months ago in April, where we identified over 16,000 hotel rooms up and down the state that we secured. 22,000 people have been supported just in 6 months. 22,000 human beings have been supported by that program, and it has spawned similar programs and support all throughout the state. None more demonstrable scale than the ones in LA City, LA County, and that's why I'm very grateful to see the 3 representatives, 2 supervisors, and of course the mayor of Los Angeles represented. But more broadly, even throughout the Southern California region, Mayor Ventura was kind enough to join us here today. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't want to talk too much more, except just a quick update. We have now distributed, just since that budget was signed, $596 million. And we've distributed some $284 million in Southern California, with 8 regions that we defined in the state. One of those regions defined in this call, in this update here today. 33 projects, $284 million. Got that money out in just a number of weeks. Projects that have to be up and running by the end of the calendar year. Today, we're announcing $147 million throughout the state of California in 12 cities and counties, representing over 1,109 units. In fact, 1,109 units exactly that are part of these approved projects. We're also announcing today a philanthropic commitment that was made by Kaiser of $25 million and by Blue Shield an additional $20 million. That $45 million is now being sent over to enterprise community partners that does this as well or better than any other organization of matching resources, providing grants, and providing supports so that we can provide for wraparound services for clients that are part of our Project Homekey effort. And so $600 million, an additional $45 million of philanthropy, desire here in the California legislature with our enthusiastic support to find additional dollars in this space, a need and desire to move at lightning speed to get more resolved, more serious about addressing this crisis of homelessness in our state, and 4 extraordinary leaders that have joined us here today that are getting it done at the local level in meaningful ways in record time. And so I want to, in no particular order, though, I think formally I do want to acknowledge our co-chair of our homeless advisory group for the state of California, Mark Ridley-Thomas, and ask Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas to talk briefly about some of the efforts in his county. By the way, in this latest announcement, and Supervisor Solis, your partnership in your county, this latest announcement are 6 projects between the city of LA proper and the county of LA. So 6 in the city, 2 in the county, total of 8 projects that are moving forward that you guys identified. You did all the work, you made happen, and I'm just the beneficiary of being able to make this announcement. And so I've talked way too much. I just wanted to tip my hat to you and Supervisor Ridley-Thomas. Let me just thank you for everything you're doing, leading the charge, holding us to account, raising the bar, but now delivering on this promotion and these promises.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. And I simply want to say to my colleagues in Los Angeles and in Southern California generally, we have 2 clear examples of why we do what we do and why it's so important. And I make reference now to both Robbie and Linda. They make it all worth it. Mr. Governor, you've been extraordinary, and I want to make that clear to all who would but believe that this work has happened because of leadership. Leadership. Couldn't do it otherwise. The legislature has followed your lead in protecting lives, preserving the public health, moving beyond that to providing much needed income to communities, particularly small businesses, and trying to do all that we can to prevent the surge. We've been on the case. You've made reference to what's happened in terms of Project Homekey, and I want to say, without fear of contradiction, it's been extraordinary. There's no point in time where the region of Los Angeles has been able to do as much by way of housing the homeless, the vulnerable, those who are elderly with underlying health conditions. Never before can that be documented, nor shall it ever be erased. And the fact that you didn't give up, but you kept leaning in and said it was Homekey today, but now we need to move to Homekey. Why? Because the intent all along was to do exactly what we're trying to do. Not put people back into the streets after the pandemic may have subsided, but in fact to find them permanent solutions that honor their dignity and worth as persons who call themselves Angelenos and beyond. And so I think, Mr. Governor, Mr. Mayors, and Madam Supervisor, we have a lot to celebrate. In Los Angeles, the new coronavirus response teams on the case, the surveillance testing, pushing it hard, the hotspot technology and apps, we are all there. And then we decompress in the environments where there's a concentration of those defined as homeless and congregate homelessness shelters. We're doing that with PPE and more. We have a lot that we've done, and we know that there's much more to be done. Mr. Governor, the fact that you stood up a homeless advisory council prior to the pandemic suggests to me that you had vision and commitment. That work has to continue. The matter is more urgent and more profoundly challenging today than it was then. And I simply want to say on my own behalf and that of my colleagues, we're ready to weigh in with you. We're ready to double down. We have to do this work in the interest of those people who yet are homeless, and yet we have an obligation to address it in a way that dignifies their very being and indeed our own. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Supervisor. And before I turn it over to Madam Supervisor Solis, I'd love to turn it over to you, Mayor Garcetti, because you and I, we on 90% of our conversations that we have are on this topic, and I know how committed you are, passionate you are, and how resolved you are to do more, and for all of us to do better, and all of us to be held to a higher level of accountability and expectation. But I want to thank you as well in recognizing the opportunity to leverage these strategies coming from the state and to and demand that the state pony up, not just more rhetoric, but more resources, so that you can stretch your existing strategies and make them go farther. And I want to acknowledge that in this light, particularly with Homekey, because you came up with a local version well above and beyond what the state was calling for. You guys set your own audacious goals that were basically statewide goals just in your own city. So, Mayor Garcetti.
Thank you, Governor, and thanks for, it was one of the most exciting moments of my life to be able to go to Sacramento and hear your State of the State this year, where it was the first single topic State of the State I'd ever heard, let alone of any topic. It was exclusively about homelessness. And it showed who you have been. It revealed the soul that you have brought to this issue as a mayor. I always tell, when people said, how's the governor doing? I'm like, he was a former mayor. He's great. He gets it. He understands. Although Jerry Brown was technically a mayor, he would always say, yeah, you guys solve that stuff. And we love Jerry for being a tightwad, and we loved him for all his toughness. But you bring a heart to this issue that I want to acknowledge. Your rhetoric matches your resources. And, the unprecedented attention, the unprecedented resources, and the unprecedented speed you have brought really distinguishes the leadership you have brought to this issue. And thank you, Supervisor Ridley-Thomas, for mentioning Linda and Robbie, who I also want to acknowledge. This is not about numbers. This isn't about rooms. This isn't about statistics. This is about stories. This is about the flesh and blood of the people who we hold, our own family members, our own neighbors. This is mothers and daughters and brothers and grandfathers, and it hits everybody. And Supervisor Solis and Ridley-Thomas, you've been a part in Los Angeles of the best relationship between a city and county. I know when the governor's office usually gets a call from a mayor, it's often because they're like, my county's driving me crazy, or the county's calling saying my cities stink. In Los Angeles, we really are marching together in an unprecedented way. So in LA, we had that great news. For the city of LA, I'll give you that narrow perspective. We submitted 16 projects and got funding for 12. We always over apply, but 12 was more than I thought we would get. And we did match that with local dollars that we took from, as you did with one-time funds from this coronavirus relief fund. We matched that as well, because if we're not looking at coronavirus as something that is putting a light on the disparities in housing and health that already exist, we have a pandemic called homelessness that predates this pandemic. We've got a disproportionate deaths. And thank you, Supervisor Ridley-Thomas, for mentioning what you and Supervisor Solis and we have done together. We're very proud, Governor, in Los Angeles of the health surge with unhoused Angelenos. You're less likely to have coronavirus, less likely to be positive, and less likely to die from it if you're unhoused than if you're housed right now. Those are statistics in LA. We're the first city in America to have cut the African-American deaths to under the population of African-Americans, percentage-wise, when it was double like in most other places. So we're really using that equity lens. And when you revealed that this week, we were all nervous, like where are we gonna come out on the equity lens? And LA came out soaring at the top, because we've, like you, put that into the DNA of our response on homelessness and our response. For instance, we had the first African-American homelessness report in the nation's history that said specific things where you can't take race out of this when race is in it, from the beginning, before somebody's homeless, and afterwards. You can't take sexual violence and sexuality and gender identity out of that when that is a big part. You can't take mental health out of it. So together, and you see Doug Guthrie on this call with our housing authority, we realized sometimes the most nimble bureaucracy is the pure bureaucracy, and the housing authority is one that exists a little bit outside of the formal part of the city of Los Angeles, but directly. I have oversight of appointing the board, and they said, we'll step forward for the city to make these purchases. They're going to retain some of them, and other ones will be out there for the city. And we're looking at those other ones that we applied, those other 4. Maybe we can find funds so we can get 100% of those done. So thank you. We look forward in the future years. What was HEAP became HAP. What is HAP is now HAP plus the federal assistance. And I guess the only other thing I'd put out there in this conversation is shame on all of us if we let these folks go back on the street, which is why this is so brilliant. We're not going to get 100%. The press who's watching right now, when they say, well, you only get 50% of people out of a shelter into housing, that's an extraordinarily high statistic, by the way. Given folks who work in homelessness, you're lucky if you get 10, 15% sometimes. We're batting what would be certainly a batting crown if it was baseball of percentages, and well beyond that. So let's keep doing that and keep pressuring the federal government to not walk away from this, no matter which administration. And you and I both praised this administration when they stepped forward, and Secretary Carson stepped forward with some housing dollars that were very important on this. And whether it's a Trump administration or a Biden administration, this should be an American priority. Thanks.
Well stated. I appreciate it, Mayor. Thanks for everything you're doing on this, and we'll circle back around. We'll talk a little bit more. Supervisor Solis, who has, by the way, 2 or 3 of my staff members, full-time staff members for Supervisor Solis on many topics, but none more then the issue of homelessness and the big project I know you're advocating for in your district. And Jason Elliott, who's 6 feet and 5 inches away from me, is testament to your not just sincerity, your resolve, your commitment on these topics. And I want to just thank you and acknowledge all of your hard work, and thank you for participating in this and being so active in the search of identifying locations, identifying opportunities. Supervisor.
Thank you so much, Governor, and to all the elected officials, my colleagues, and to our recipients, Linda and Robbie and all the other elected officials. We couldn't have done this. You really, when a leader makes something happen, they have a vision, and sometimes other people don't see what's beyond what's happening in the moment. And you have that ability to cut through that. And I can't tell you how important it was to be able to have the funding necessary so that we could bring our efforts on homelessness to fruition so quickly in a matter of a few weeks. Once the pandemic hit and you said we've got to shelter our homeless, and the way we're going to do it is through Homekey and purchasing and taking over some hotels and motels. I have to tell you, it was a gift for us. And for me in my first district, I have to tell you, we had 9 projects set up right away. And it was tough, I want to say that. And you and I were going back and forth talking about how difficult it is sometimes to get other local cities beyond just the city of LA, but the local cities that we represent. I represent 24, and not all of them are clearly aware of how to embrace this and understand it. So it really took a lot of wear and tear to make sure that we could get it done. And I want to give a shout out to some of the cities that stepped up: El Monte, Monterey Park, Pomona, Rosemead, and of course the city of LA. And we were able to get 9 of those facilities done. Now we're looking at the transitioning into the Homekey, and one project that we're going to be opening up in a new city, Baldwin Park, because they got it. They understand that there's going to be help for the city, but there's also going to be this effort that we're collectively pulling our resources together using our own Measure H money, our mental health services. And I want to give a shout out to our departments, to the Homeless Initiative, to Department of Health Services, to mental health, and to public health, and to also all the stakeholders from LASA and all the providers that have come together to make it possible. It has been a really wonderful learning experience, but my hope is that we can get more of our local cities, the smaller ones, to think big and not be convinced that somehow they can't do it alone. We're there to help them, to be that safety net. And with this additional amount of money that's going to be coming in, I think that's really going to help to provide us the comfort that some of these cities are going to need to know that they can also help draw on. And, I love working with the city of LA. Mayor, you've been wonderful to work with. And we have some new projects that are going to be coming online right now, right in downtown. Hopefully 232 beds where a jail was going to be built. Okay, so we're really talking about some radical changes here that we're saying care first, jail last. Let's get treatment to people who really need it and build out more affordable housing, because right now people are hanging on with their life because they're afraid they're going to be evicted. We don't want to see more people falling into homelessness now. So we've got to work fast and quickly. And I want to thank your staff very much, Governor, for all that you've done, because I know it's been a lot of wear and tear, but you weathered it and you've done a good job. And now our next step is to make sure that we can get more people in to the permanent Homekey perspective and get more of those facilities up and going. So you got a partner in us, and we're ready to go. So God bless you, and thank all the staff and all the folks that are watching and hearing us today. And to those people that are testimony that this works, that people can get their lives together and have a new chapter, new hope, and bring unity to their lives, to their communities, and to their families, is something that we're all resolved in working towards. So thank you so much, Governor, and all of you.
I appreciate everything you said on the sentiment, and also appreciate, Supervisor, you making a point that there's still folks that are not as committed as all of those that are assembled here today, that don't see this, quote unquote, as their responsibility, but someone else's responsibility. And one of the things that I'm very proud of up here was the leadership of the Assembly and our State Senate Pro Tem Atkins, who was a huge champion of this program, the Assembly Speaker, that helped us also waive some of the permitting rules in order to find, well, a little bit more encouragement in terms of siting and location to make it a little, give us a greater chance of success. And there's some that are still in the way, that are still blocking those efforts. But one that's not is our Ventura mayor, who joined us. And Mayor, I just want to thank you for getting it done and being part of the solution, and not just sitting there moralizing and saying it's all, Mayor Garcetti's responsibility. That you and all of us have a role to play throughout the region and throughout the state. And Mayor, it's wonderful to have you on, and we wanted you on because you're doing it, and you're a leader and you're taking responsibility. And I just want to express that and thank you.
Thank you. I mean, you're right. This is all of our responsibility. And I want to thank you, Mr. Governor, for your leadership in making these programs a reality, because they have been a resounding success here in Ventura and Ventura County. And Mayor Garcetti hit on this, but really the key to the success here locally has been the strong partnerships between the city and the county. And so that when the state provided us this critical source of funding, we were able to utilize these existing partnerships and relationships and immediately jump into action. We were able to identify 4 sites in the county, 2 in the city of Ventura, where we could house homeless individuals. And really, it was these pre-existing partnerships and relationships between the city staff and county behavioral health, and largely, a lot of our faith-based community as well. That we had services in the field. We had doctors in the field providing much-needed medical care to these individuals where they resided. We had constant contact with behavioral health specialists. And so that when Project Homekey launched and became a reality, we knew which of our homeless individuals were most at risk, who was most vulnerable, who had pre-existing conditions. And we were able to quickly reach out to these individuals and provide them that critical information about this program. And because of the extensive outreach we'd already done, we had fostered and developed trust with these individuals, so that when we told them about this program, they trusted us to go into it. And it was really knowing who was most vulnerable and being able to get them into this program, get them the services they needed to continue receiving, and get them housed. The results speak for themselves here in Ventura County. We were able to serve over 400 of our most at-risk homeless individuals. Not a single one ever tested positive for COVID-19. And on top of that, we were able to transition 80 of those individuals successfully into permanent housing. And so it just shows that when there's this commitment community-wide to do this hard work, you can get the results you need. And with Project Homekey, we're going to be able to continue doing this important work. Project Homekey saved lives. Project Homekey is going to help us continue to save lives. And we're going to work with our housing authority and local affordable housing developers, and we're going to be able to get the projects we need to continue this successful transition from sheltering into permanent housing. So thank you, Mr. Governor.
No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate, and what a perfect segue and transition into the 2 stars of today's conversation, Linda and Robbie, who in the spirit, not only your frame of transition, but spirit that Mayor Garcetti brought to this, of putting a human face on this issue. It's not statistics. These are real lives, real journeys that all of us are on. And life can be challenging. There's setbacks. There's external, internal challenges we all face, and some more extreme than others. And I know 2 remarkable people with us have weathered an extraordinary amount in their very young lives. And Linda, I just want to start with you, because you're in a place that I think is very special to you right now, in a place that I imagine not too long ago you never imagined you would be in. And I don't want to share too much of your story without your permission, and please feel free to share as much or as little as you wish. But maybe you could just start by telling us where you are and a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your own journey.
I became homeless because of a catastrophic health problem. You never expect that to happen to you. It did. At the same time, I lost my mother, my father, and my sister, and they were younger than me. And for 16 years, I didn't have a home. And I've been in a 25-year-old car, which is sitting right outside here in the parking lot, which was my home. I call it an existence. It wasn't living, it was terrifying. And I never thought I was going to be able to survive. I was in and out of hospitals constantly, multiple surgeries. What's amazing about this program, the week I moved into the hotel, and it was the week of my 70th birthday. So it was quite a birthday. And Los Angeles Family Housing came and celebrated it with me. It meant everything to me because I've been alone for 11 years. I've gone through everything alone. There was nobody. So you try to keep the faith, and it's really hard. And so to be in an apartment like this, I couldn't even have imagined it. And what's interesting is I sit here and I look out the kitchen window and I look at the car, and I can't believe that's how I lived. It's just an amazing program. You not only saved my life, but you gave me a future, and you gave me golden years that I never thought I was going to have. And so I'm extremely grateful. The program works, and it's beautiful. Los Angeles has such a critical problem with homelessness. You see tents on the corners, under the freeways. It's just heartbreaking. And you think, what's going to happen to these people? And it shortens their lives. It's not living. It's, like I say, it's existing. And so last night was my first night here. I was really overwhelmed. I was up most of the night. And extremely grateful. And I feel so privileged and humbled to be able to talk to all of you, that you would even listen to my story, is amazing. So it was quite a birthday present, and I'm really grateful for it. And now I can kind of try to manage the health problems, which I hadn't done. And so I got way off track. When you're sitting in a car, you're just trying to survive. You want to live, but you don't know how you're going to live. And it's a very, very terrifying experience. And one of the health problems, when I was in the hospital, I was on a ventilator. It's a terrifying experience. This pandemic is extremely serious. It's something to be afraid of. And you have to really, really take care of yourself and do the right things, the hand washing, the mask, the social distancing. It's critical. And fortunately, I don't have it, and grateful for that. But those ventilators are really scary. So I can speak from experience. You don't want to get this virus. I didn't have the virus. It was from an intestinal problem, but I was still on one. And so I think to try to get people in permanent housing is so important, because it will reduce, in my opinion, trying to catch this horrible disease. And it's something we've never been through before. And hopefully we'll get this under control, but it's been tough for everybody, some more than others. And so I'm grateful for all of you for just listening to me. And thank you so much, Governor and Mayor. What an incredible project. It works. It works. So now I'll have some golden years, And at the age of 70, I didn't think I was going to see 70. And to have it, going to the hotel on my birthday, it was a miracle, absolute miracle. And LA Family Housing, they came and celebrated with me. It was amazing. And so it gives you hope. And don't give up, because every day you don't know what'll happen. And something good happened out of a horrible situation. And if it weren't for you, Governor and Mayor and all of you, I wouldn't be here. And so thank you so much with all my heart. God bless all of you.
God bless you, Linda. And let me assure you, you are, there are two things. You're where you are because of your perseverance, because you never gave up on yourself. And so, how proud we are of you and your fortitude and capacity. But more importantly, let me thank you to the thousands of others that need your inspiration, that also need your example. There are a lot of cynical people out there say you can't solve homelessness. It will never be solved. It's too big. It's too overwhelming. Well, you're proof that they're wrong and that we have remarkable capacity. And so I just want to thank you and just wish you all the success in the world, because the impact you're going to have on other people, not only throughout Los Angeles, but throughout the rest of the state. So we have your back, and we're really inspired by your example. And thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, because every life matters.
You got it.
Happy birthday too.
Oh, thank you so much. It's
Thank you.
amazing I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Robbie, you've been patient. Thank you for being so patient. And you have an extraordinary, I had to reread about some of the things that you've experienced, some of the challenges that you've faced. And the fact that you're here is also extraordinary and inspiring to all of us. And again, let me not speak anymore. Let's turn it over to you, and you please share whatever you're comfortable sharing with all of us.
Thank you. I'd first like to start by thanking you, Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti and everyone else that's on the panel for the parts that you played in Project Homekey. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I came to California, hoping to be a bodybuilder or some type of star. Anyway, it didn't end up that way. I ended up in a domestic abusive relationship, which began my homelessness. I had cats and I had kittens, and my significant other was abusing me and my cats and my kittens. And so I took them all, and we all moved into a tent. And it was hard, because being a woman out there is very dangerous in a tent, sleeping on the cement. Being homeless greatly affected my self-esteem and my dignity. And it really made me feel as if I were not a part of society, because basically I wasn't. I was just existing, like Linda said. Being out there before Project Homekey, I was susceptible to getting COVID-19, which gratefully and thankfully I did not. And so I'm grateful to be inside of here at Project Homekey. It has really, really changed my life. I'm safe from COVID-19 here at this site. They make sure that we stay 6 feet apart, we social distance, there's disinfecting going on all around the clock. It's a very good place. I'm really getting back into becoming acclimated back into society now. I have my California ID, I have my Social Security card. I'm what we call housing ready. I have the documents that I need to get housing. I'm just waiting. And now I have a roof over my head, a warm bed, shower, and 3 new hot, nutritious meals a day. And since being here at Project Homekey, I'm registered to vote now, and I will be also volunteering to vote, as I vote no on 21. And I came here through the Westwood Rec Center, and they got me here, and now I'm taking classes. I take some classes online, creative writing, some art classes, some poetry classes, and I'm becoming a member of society again. And it's preparing me for my next step, which will be having my own home where I'll be able to have my own key to my own door, you know, and be able to cook in my own kitchen. And just being a part of society again is really important to me. And maybe volunteering and teaching elementary school children. That's my dream, to do that, to maybe go to school, to become educated, to do that. And I'm just so grateful. And I just want to thank you all again for this, what you've done. You wouldn't even have recognized me. When I came in here, I looked so different. I was underweight, and I'm reeling with life now. And so I'm so grateful for Project Homekey.
Well, it's wonderful, Robbie. Thank you. And thank you again for your perseverance and your example and your faith and devotion, not to this project, but to others. I love the spirit of contribution, as they say, paying it forward and helping others. And I think, Linda and Robbie, one thing that struck me in both of your stories is this notion of feeling connected, not just protected, feeling connected to others, a sense of community, and just struggling with loneliness and isolation. And I just want to acknowledge all the elected officials on this call, because it's important to note the subtext of what was said is there are existing programs that you guys have been fighting for and sponsoring and supporting for years and years that are also part of this ecosystem that's so essential that we continue to invest in to make possible and make real the dreams of Robbie and Linda and literally tens of thousands of others that are looking for similar support. And so I'd just be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all that existing hard work that you guys have put into this for years and years and years, and your political courage of going out on tax measures and going out and really making the case anew that you're willing to be held to a higher level of accountability. Most politicians run from this issue because in so many ways, it's one of those issues where there's no having made it, that success is not a place or a definition, it's more of a direction. And it's easy for people to take cheap shots and sit there on the sidelines and say, well, you could have done or should have done more, better. But you guys are in the game, and I'm incredibly grateful. And so that's why it was important to me, forgive me to be long-winded, to have us all here together, because I just want to acknowledge that. And also, by the way, Mayor Silva and El Centro and others that are on the call, thank you for also your strong support and participation. Look, we know good enough never is, and none of us are naive. This is just one of many things we're doing, and we have so much more work to do. And I want folks to know we are humbled by this, and we're sober by the reality and everybody's expectation. But we think we've made, a little bit of a dent this year in a tough and challenging environment. And the leaders here today are the real doers. And I just cannot express deeper gratitude to all of you. And that does it with me. Anybody else, please jump in. And I just want to keep us on time. Mayor Garcetti.
I can jump in. First of all, Linda and Robbie, you brought tears to my eyes. I'm so proud that you are angels in this city of angels, and I hope you feel that and know that. And your pathway back is irreversible. That was not your destiny, and this is your destiny.
Thank you.
And Linda, you got to celebrate your birthday. It was yesterday, you said?
No, it was May 19th. It was
May
the
19th. Oh, when you moved in earlier.
Yeah,
Well,
we moved into the hotel. What a birthday.
Well, since you brought up birthdays, I just want to take a point of personal privilege because it happens to be our governor's birthday tomorrow. So I just wanted to speak up.
Look at you.
You try to sneak in.
Yeah, well, this is when we don't celebrate birthdays. No.
He's going to do it at a social distance from everybody but his family. But seriously, take a moment and want to wish you a very, very happy birthday, Governor.
Nice, man.
Mr. Governor, if I may, I'll weigh in with the mayor and wish you the best of the birthday, and to you and your family. We wouldn't be much without the support of these hardworking nonprofits that have helped both Linda and Robbie, LA Family Housing and St. Joseph's Center. They do incredible work. And when we think about public-private partnerships, when we think about what it means to get this work done at an indigenous, client-centered, social service basis, I think we ought to be mindful of lifting them up. They help the elected officials, they help the community, they do what's necessary. And I think it's important just to give them the appropriate knowledge.
Well done. Well done. Supervisor Solis, Mayor LaVere, any final words?
I just want to say, go ahead, Supervisor.
Oh, go ahead, Mayor. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I just real quick, I just wanted to add on what Linda and Robbie talked about. I mean, this is hard work, but it's important work. And when you hear stories like that and you see the success that comes from this work, it shows you how critical it is that we keep doing this. And I just really appreciate that everybody on this call recognizes the need to keep doing this hard work.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you, both of you, Linda and Robbie, for sharing such a personal part of your life. And the fact that you have been able to do so much so quickly in a matter of time when this program came on board is testament that there are other lives that we can change. And your voices are going to be a big part of that to help us share the opportunities, the wellness, the coming together, the fact that we're working as a team as well to help bring other people from out of the shadows to come into these programs and to convince other local municipalities and city leaders to do the right thing and work with us to help provide the comfort that so many of our families need right now. So you guys are outstanding. You guys are going to make me cry. I mean, it's very moving what you've done. And let me tell you, Linda, you don't look 70. You look like you're 50.
Oh, thank you so much.
And you both look great. I mean, and Robbie, you look beautiful. You look beautiful. Thank you both. Thank you both. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, guys. We love you all. We're really grateful. Thank you all. And thank you, Jason Elliott. Take care, everybody.
Yes, Jason. Take care. Bye, guys.
Yes, sir.
I just want to give one shout out. I just really
Go
wanted
ahead.
to,
We're listening.
I just wanted to thank St. Joseph. St. Joseph's is a nonprofit organization here, and they've really, really been instrumental with Project Homekey here in Century City. And so I just wanted to mention St. Joseph's and give a shout out. Woo woo, St. Joseph.
Thanks, Rob.